welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. So today I'm going to be doing this generic zombie, I guess, but the real inspiration from it was from the movie Train to Busan, and that is a Korean zombie movie, and it is so amazing. I talked about it, I believe, in like my December favorites or something, but it is so good. If you guys haven't watched it, you definitely need to check it out. I know it was on Netflix the last time I watched it, so if you can, definitely check it out. It is so entertaining. For me, it is personally right up there with World War Z. I think it is absolutely fantastic. The cinematography, the makeup, it is so spectacular. So I just kind of tried to throw my own little twist on it, and by own little twist, I mean basically more blood. That's kind of the only difference. It is also really important to always have reference photos, so I was always looking at these to try and kind of find a happy medium between them. I did want to put more blood on this zombie just because a lot of them had dried up blood, but I don't have any mouth blood, so I actually used some cherry cobbler and I just kind of opened that up and I mixed it with a little bit of chocolate syrup, and you know, it wasn't like the best thing, but you know, whenever you need blood in your mouth, you can't really just use like stage blood or anything like that because this stuff is toxic, and I'm not in the mood to die today, even though my character might be dead, so I had to substitute it with something. But I do know that there are real like fake blood recipes out there, except I didn't have corn syrup, and a lot of them required corn syrup, and I am going out to dinner tonight, and so if I used red food coloring for anything, it would stain my face, and blood still can kind of stain, but it's not as bad as food coloring, so I just I had to wing it, and you know, it happens. Also, I really hope the blood turned out okay, just because I did it when I had my contact lenses in, so I can't really quite see exactly what I'm doing, so when I look really close to a mirror, it kind of looks like how I want it to. It might be a little more blood than I anticipated, but honestly, my zombie was hungry. I can't really complain, and you know, it's fine. I can live with it. Anyways, with all that being said, if you guys want to see how you can achieve this Train to Busan zombie, just keep watching. Hey guys, so to get started, I'm just going to be taking my NYX Photo Loving Primer and just applying this all over my face so we can fill in those pores and have a nice base for our foundation. For my foundation, I'm going to be taking my NYX Total Control Foundation in Porcelain and applying this all over my face. This is an optional step, but I did decide that I wanted to make myself a little bit more pale for this look, so I just decided to use this foundation, but you can use your bare skin if you do want to have those natural vein tones and readiness coming through, so you don't have to necessarily makeshift that with makeup so much, but once again, I wanted to look a little bit more pale, and I definitely liked the coverage it had because you could still see through it, but it also made me look more pale than I actually was, but it still looked realistic, so it kind of covered everything that I wanted. Next, I'm going to be taking my Ben Nye Bruise Wheel, taking the light purple color, and I'm just going to be applying this over the areas that you would typically see some discoloration in your face. So I'm going to be applying this around my eyes, my nose, my mouth, and around my ears and temples as well. You don't want to add too much of this because it is easier to add more than to take away. So I'm just going to be applying a little bit, and you want to blend some of it out with your finger, but you don't want it to be completely blended. You do want to have some areas that have more pigment than others. Next, we're going to be taking our green color from the Bruise Wheel palette, and you're just going to be applying this in these same areas. However, since this is slightly closer to your skin tone, you can actually use more of this than you would have used the purple. Now, typically you actually want to use this before you use the purple, and then you use the darker purple, and then you use the blue, so you kind of go from lighter to darker. But, you know, this kind of worked just as well, so I'm just going to be applying it everywhere, and then also going back in with some of the purple to fill in some of the areas that I feel like needed to be covered. Next, I'm going to be taking the blue color from my Bruise Wheel palette, and I'm just going to be applying this sparingly because a little bit of this goes a long way, but you only want to add this in certain areas where you want to darken the area just to add more dimension. So I'm mixing up between blending brushes and more precise detail brushes and just kind of adding it where I want and then blending some of them together. Once again, you don't want everything to be completely blended because you do want there to be spots of color in certain areas and more pigment, but you do want it to kind of blend nicely into the skin so it does look realistic. Next, I am going to be taking my Skin Illustrator Flesh Alcohol color palette, and I'm going to be taking the yellow and a chip brush, and I'm just going to be applying this basically all over my face just so we can add some gross discoloration, kind of like some infection, just some nasty stuff. Then we're going to be taking our Skin Illustrator FX alcohol palette, taking Lividity, and we're just going to be applying that over our face as well. This is going to help break up some of the colors and add some more dimension and infection all over your face. I'm going to be going back into my Flesh palette and I'm going to be taking my Vein Tone and I'm just going to be applying this all over my face, creating some straggly lines, and this is going to replicate veins. Now typically if you were just using a bare face, you weren't using any foundation whatsoever, you would want to do this first before you used a chip brush with alcohol paints, just so it can really sink under the skin and look more realistic. But if you are using foundation, it really doesn't change that much if you do it before or after everything else, but I just kind of decided that I did want them to be a little bit more prominent as opposed to being quite so realistic, because this is a zombie that has infection in it, so it's not really going to be so focused on having natural veins as it is going to be having really colored veins that are definitely infected, so yeah. To make them look even more infected and nasty, we're going to be taking our black alcohol color and we're going to be splattering it all over our face. Then we're going to be going back into our bruise wheel palette and we're just going to be taking some of that blue around our eyes. We're not really trying to line our eyes, but we do want them to have a little bit more definition. I did find that my face wasn't the exact shape that I wanted. I didn't look malnourished enough, so I am taking my Morphe 35B palette, taking the black eyeshadow and just chiseling out my cheekbones and adding some more definition to my face. Next, we're going to be going back into our FX palette, taking our blood tone, and we're just going to be splattering that all over our face to once again add some more discoloration, but to also add a little bit more effect and backstory as if they had gotten splattered by blood earlier on in the day. I'm also going to be going back into the blue tone from my bruise wheel palette, and you're going to be deepening up your eye sockets a little bit more and making sure to blend it out with a fluffy brush. Then we're going to be going back into our FX palette, taking the black alcohol paint, and we're going to be creating some darker veins. This is really going to help make your zombie look more infected, because it's always creepy when you turn your head and you see some, normal colored veins and then some black ones, because then you know something is really wrong. So we're just going to be creating that, and you want to make sure that they look realistic and that you have them in the areas that you would naturally have veins. Next, I'm going to be going back into the FX palette. I'm going to be going back into our blood tone, and I'm going to be creating the base outline for the head injury that we're going to have. And it's also going to serve as some of the dripping blood that we're going to have, but this is also just kind of mapping out the areas that I want to have it. So underneath all of the real blood, or fake blood, forgive me, we're actually going to have a realistic base. Taking our bentonite fresh scab blood, we're going to be applying that over the areas that we have created our injury, and you want to blend some of it out so it does look like some of the blood has smeared, but you do want to make sure that some of it stays thick so it looks like the blood has started to clot there and it has some more buildup. Taking our beautiful KY jelly, we're going to be applying a little bit all over our face. This is going to serve as like some sweat on our face or some excess oils that the zombie might have on them. If you don't have KY jelly in your house, you can use some vegetable glycerin because that works just as well. Taking our Tartiest Lash Paint Mascara, we're just going to be sweeping a thin layer onto our eyelashes just to give them a little bit more color. Then you're going to be taking any blue eyeliner that you may have and just applying that to your lower waterline just to make them a little bit more discolored. Red would work just as well. Then you're going to be going back into your KY jelly and applying that through your hair to make it look all sweaty and gunky. I already had a little bit of dirty hair, so this is also just going to make it look even more gross. Going into our Walmart Vampire Blood, I got this during Halloween. We're just going to be applying this all over our face and allowing it to drip down so it can create some of those gross, natural looking droplets. We're also going to be taking some of our cherry pie filling and chocolate mix, and we're going to be applying that all over our face and applying that into our mouth as well because it is edible, yay! I probably would have added some of the fake blood around my mouth, but when I had put my contact lenses in, I was afraid that I was gonna, ingest some, and I didn't feel like being poisoned today, so definitely apply fake blood on your mouth first, and then go over the internal area with some of the cherry pie filling. And that is the completed look. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below what you'd like to see next. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos. And with all of that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!